Hey, everybody, welcome back to the show. Excited to have my buddy, Corey Peterson. Actually, he's calling my brother from another mother with us today. We're going to be talking about how we're all trying to be big and grow these big businesses and do all this stuff, but it's really the little things that matter. That's what we're going to talk about today. Professional real estate investors know that it's not really about the real estate. In fact, real estate is just a vehicle to freedom. A group of over 100 of the nation's leading real estate investors from across the country meet several times a year at the Investor Fuel Real Estate Mastermind to share ideas on how to strengthen each other's businesses, but also to come together as friends and build more fulfilling lives for all of those around us. On today's show, we're going to continue our conversation of fueling our businesses and fueling our lives. I'm glad you're here. Hey, Corey, welcome to the show, buddy.
Man, Mike, thanks for having me, brother.
Yeah, I'm always excited to see you. So it's interesting. You and I have come a long way, and we've talked a lot about all these we all have these big goals. Obviously, we work together on some stuff, and we've talked about this all the time. Just like things like note cards and brands, and like little things that kind of matter. Ultimately, the relationships that matter, right? We're kind of casting these wide nets, but at the end of the day, it's one-on-one relationships like you and I have that really kind of move the needle in our businesses, right?
Yeah, it's the people business, man. I think sometimes we forget, like we all get caught up on systems and processes and, the whiz bangs and the tech stuff. But at the end of the day, and it's still just as important now as it was back then, as it will be in the future, is it comes down to people. And when it comes to people, it's the little things I think that truly matter, that move the needle.
Yep. Hey, before we dive into it, for anybody for anybody that doesn't know you yet, the Big Kahuna, tell us a little bit about your background, how you got started in real estate investing.
Yeah, I started like probably most investors, broken with a dream, and that dream was real estate. Actually, like 20 years ago, I went to Hawaii. My mom was married to this man named Bruce. I call him Bruce Wayne. He wasn't Batman, but he was loaded, and he truly gave me a vision. Because we get to Hawaii, he's got a house right on the beach. And I look at this guy, I'm like, what in the hell does he do? Because he had time and money. Like, no doubt that's what he had. And so when I asked him what he did, guess what he said? He said the magic words. He was in real estate, and then he owned apartment complexes. Yeah. Well, that's all I needed. So that was the download from the mothership. I read that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and it really just set me off. That was in 2005. I started the journey, but I didn't start with multifamily. I started off as a wholesaler because I had no money and, I had a lot of time and I just needed to figure out how to get a deal. And so I started off as a wholesaler, then quickly learned how to raise private money, and then went to fix and flip. And then ultimately the market changed again. And I got into apartment investing in 2011. And that's all I've been doing ever since. And now I think we have a portfolio of about $95 million of real estate, of apartment complexes that we own. And the cash flow life is real.
Yep. That's awesome, man. And it's never, it's always interesting when you talk about your background. That was like probably a minute, but there's so much more to those stories, right? And I think that's one of the problems is, a podcast here, we've done over 1,500 podcasts, talked to a lot of amazing people, and it's hard to encapsulate the whole thing. But for those of you that are listening to this and, that made it sound easy, I promise you it was not easy.
It was not easy at all, Mike.
Never easy. It's never easy.
If I could write the story, it'd be like how to fail every step and keep getting up, right?
Yep.
Because that's really that's the journey of real estate is not actually quitting. It's just to keep failing forward. And eventually we call that experience.
Yeah, that's exactly what. So many people fail and they give up. And that's why the failure rate is so high, I think, in this industry is people fail and then they quit. But the truth is failure. I always say this: failures. I don't know if this is trademark. Maybe I need to trademark this. Failure is just a stepping stone on your way to success, right? So at the end of the day, failure are lessons. It's like touch a hot stove. Don't do that again. Text while you're driving, you get in a wreck. You're like, don't do that again. You just kind of learn like
what do you learn more from, right? From your wins or from your losses?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I say you either win or you learn.
Exactly right. So I know you and I've gotten some tips from you over the years with like handwritten postcards. So we talk really a lot about just kind of little things because these podcasts go out. You have a podcast too. We're talking to thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people out there. But at the end of the day, that wide net approach, I guess, is necessary, and that's kind of how a lot of these mediums are, right? It's like broad. But at the end of the day, it comes down to individual conversations and relationships, right? So when did you kind of realize that? Because I think we were doing big things, we're putting on a big events, like all this stuff, but those one-on-one conversations in a corner somewhere, or that phone call when somebody's interested in something and then touching somebody in a way makes all the difference, right? That's all that matters.
That really is the key differential in like, we can cast the wide nets, but at the end of the day, it's who do you know? How well do you know them? And do they know, like, and trust you?
Right.
And how do you build know, like, and trust? And it's with, I think it's with conversations other than of business.
Right.
Like
right.
if you can talk to somebody, and whether it's a motivated seller or a vendor or a someone that you're going to sell deals to, right?
Yep.
It all comes down to saying, why do you sit down and spend 20 minutes to get to know a motivated seller? Why are you spending that 20, 30 minutes to find out who they are, what they like, and what's their hot buttons, what's their why? Getting to know them is because that's the little thing that matters. If you've got to find some common ground. And for me, one of the first things that I really learned how to do, and I learned this actually in a business that wasn't even in real estate. It was when I was a financial advisor. Edward D. Jones, the little green investing company, right? They taught me how to do what I call handwritten, if you're watching this on YouTube or whatever, handwritten cards, thank you cards. Now, it was a requirement from them. Like if you met somebody and you got their name and address, you immediately sent them a handwritten thank you card.
Yeah.
And that has stuck with me because what happened was the response I got from that was like tenfold because it's a forgotten art.
Yeah, no doubt.
Right. So,
no doubt.
And what I made sure I did is on the card stock. So this is something I didn't go cheap on. A lot of people go get, they go on to the quick little websites where you can order 1,000 of them real quickly, cheaply made. And that it's okay. Like that's version 1. If that's where you're at, that's version 1. Version 1's better than version none. But when you understand what you're trying to do, which is influence, you might that's a good place to put a little bit of an investment.
Yep.
So my card stock is very thick. It's linen. It's got a textured pattern in the card stock. I've got gold embossed foil of my logo and then my name. And so it looks like it's coming from the CEO of a Fortune 500 company.
Yeah,
that's how I want my card stock to look like.
Yeah, we do the same thing, but here's I've got the investor fuel ones.
Yeah.
It's kind of like from the desk of, and
yeah.
honestly, we take it seriously. Like some of these things I learned from you, I never made it quite with the wax. It was so much work, but
oh well, hold on, because you
the wax seal. Everybody talking about the wax seal.
We've learned. So hold on, let me show you. I'm going to bring out my.
You got
watching this right here. This is a glue gun. Okay, you can buy wax inserts, and so this is funny. But so we're talking about these cards. Like, so what you put on them is important. Just a quick little message. Hey, great meeting you. If I can add value to you in any way, call me up or whatever. But people will call you back once they get these in the mail. And then what I learned how to level it up is when I made sure not only did I handwrite the message, I handwrote the address. I put a cool stamp. So most people, again, they get the United States flag stamps. Not Corey. Right now, like I'm rolling with Sesame Street. Right. So I went to the post office and I'm like, show me your cool stamps. And they always got cool stamps, man. And so right now I'm rocking Sesame Street. So I put the Sesame Street little post stamp on the deal. And then what I learned, and I got this from my daughter. This is not even my idea. She goes, Dad, that'd be cool, but why don't you put a wax seal on the back? And I was like, how do I do that? So of course, with everything in the world, we Google stuff, right? How to do wax seal stamps. And on Amazon, you can custom get one. So I created one with my logo and my little initials. And so now, and then what I learned was this glue gun is the most vital, important part of that process.
Yeah.
You put a wax thing in there, and then you just heat this thing up and you squeeze it, boom, and then you come and stamp it, and it's done.
Yeah, that's cool.
To try to do it any other way is too much work.
And I think even for the single family, sellers out there, you might not use a wax stamp and stuff, but I think just the handwritten note, like for many, many years, sometimes we get away from these things and we're like, why did we stop? We look back, you're like, why did I stop doing that? But my acquisitions people would leave a house and they would have a stack of cards. We would handwrite a card, put their business card in it. Hey, it was really great meeting you. I hope your father starts feeling better, or whatever the issue might be that's kind of personalized, right? And just to remember those things. Because I tell you, like nobody does that. And so many people are like, walk in, like, can I see the house real fast? Let me say, well, here's what I'll give you for this dump. It's very impersonal. And and you don't stand out. I mean, you might stand out in a bad way if you do that.
How do you get referrals, right? So like if you had a motivated seller and you want to get referral after you close their deal and you send them a handwritten card saying, I really appreciate doing business with you. You were such a great, I'm glad that we were able to help you out. If you know anybody else that's in need, make sure you send them our way.
Yep.
Right. Or something like that. And then even for your buyers, you have a new buyer that buys first time they've bought from you, right? As wouldn't you want to like say, hey, John, man, great working with you on our first experience together. Look forward to do many, many more. Right. Yeah, absolutely. Call me when you have a chance. I'd love to catch up with and get to know you better.
Yep.
Right. All that stuff. That's why these handwritten cards, they'll go as far as you allow it to. And you just got to, but you just got to do the work. Right. This is one of those things. It's a little bit of a time commitment. But the truth is, in today's society, listen, I can have my VA do the whole thing. And all I got to do is like sign the back or whatever, if I really wanted to, or whatever. So like there's a process for it. It can be easily done.
Yeah. And I think all of us are feeling that pinch of competition, right? I mean, it always exists. It feels like it's harder right now. It always feels like it's the hardest it's ever been right now, wherever you are in time, right? But I think it's how do you stand out amongst the sea of other people that customer or that potential friend or whatever person could be working with, right? It's like, how do you differentiate yourself?
Well, this
so
is when
things like that.
It's called relationships, right?
Right.
How do you know you have a relationship with somebody? Well, in my opinion, is when you can, like me and Mike have a relationship. I can talk to Mike about things other than real estate, right? We can talk about travel. We can, like, that's one of the things we have in common. You like to travel. I like to travel. We're like, what's your favorite spot? Why, right? Why should I go?
Yeah.
And like, anytime you can open up a conversation with anybody, whether it's a motivated seller, whether it's a potential buyer list, if you can start talking something other than the business that you're currently doing, like golf, you name it, whatever they are interested in, that you can find a common bond, now you're cooking.
Yeah.
Now you have a relationship other than the same boring crap of, do you want to buy the house? Do you want to sell the house? No.
Yeah.
Let's
talk a little about, I know you're big on branding. We're big on branding. We never show our office. I don't really know why, but we've got signs all over the place because I've got a bunch of brands. When you have a graphic designer full time, like you just come up with brands. Like you just like it's not, and lots of t-shirts, and so you've got obviously your Kahuna stuff on. I know all your vehicles are wrapped.
Yeah.
But just talk about the kind of power of branding as you see it.
Man, so I didn't really understand the power of this early on, but as I've gotten and matured, I realized that the one thing I did consistently was make sure that we stayed consistent. And how do you do that? I call it a branding guide. And so like for Kahuna Investments, we have our little house logo. We have, first of all, we have our logo. Everybody should have a logo, but the truth is, how do you use your logo, right? If it's in front of a colored background, is it the same? Is it different? Is it changed? Like, what's your rules on your logo? How does it get presented? What's your fonts, right? So we know our fonts, and then what's your color codes to your fonts, to your logos? Do you know most color palettes are in 3s, right? So even like I'm looking at Investor Field, you've got your green, your orange, and your kind of your yellow, right? I'm just looking behind you right now, watching this video. That's the colors. That's every time I see that, I know that's investor fuel,
Yep.
right? And it's consistent branding. Like think about McDonald's, Mike. We know this. When you walk up to the counter, where are the fries? They're to your left every time. And they've modeled, it's the systems and process branding. It's consistent.
Yep.
And so that's how your brand should be as well. It should be very consistent, whether you go onto your website, whether you go onto print material. It should always, that's why those fonts matter, because you want the same fonts every time. You want it to look like, oh, that's investor fuel.
Yeah, I think, and from a single family perspective too, when you brand yourself, I do think, but these things go hand in hand, right? If you have a really awesome brand, but you're not good at building relationships and rapport with people when you're talking to them, that brand's not going to matter. But if you treat people right, you can build relationships with people. You've got a brand that's catchy or kind of stands out, and you just do that consistently over time, years and years and years. Like eventually, you'll be getting business that you don't even know where it came from.
Yeah.
It just happened because
that's when you have a true brand, right?
Yep.
Is like you start off with an idea, but you've got it's a kind of like a living, breathing process, right?
Right.
It doesn't happen overnight. It's like, it's not like GE, we bring good things to light. It didn't happen that way, but they kept on saying the same message for the longest time, and they built trust and consistency to the game. That's when people say, oh, they know, they start to know. You buy a little bit of brain power in everybody's brain of what your company does.
Yep.
Then you're moving the needle.
One other thing we're going to talk about is kind of a little thing that you guys want to consider is just the relationships you build and who you surround yourself with. So there are RIA clubs, and with COVID and all that, a lot of that stuff is down. But the truth is we used to sponsor RIA clubs for many, many years. I've been to, who knows, 100 plus RIA club meetings, I'm sure, maybe way more than that. And the truth is a lot of them are a little sterile. Like you kind of get there. Nobody's really there to build relationships. They're kind of there to give and take a lot of times. So that's how a lot of those clubs are set up. It's like there's tables. I want to give you something in exchange. Give me your email address. And it's very kind of just cold and mechanical. But when you get in a room full of people where you can surround yourself with and just drop your guard and just open up and talk about what's going on, what do you need help with? How can I help you? And be genuine about it. Like everything changes. We obviously have the Investor Fuel Mastermind. This is the Investor Fuel show. Corey's been a member he's an OG from the very beginning for over 3 years now. And maybe share your thoughts, Corey, on just kind of the power of really getting around other people like that.
Changed my life forever. Like there's no doubt. Like if I would go back and look at my history and say, when did I really start to move the needle? It was the moment I started joining masterminds. And I'm in part of like 3 different masterminds. But I didn't start, I started with one. Obviously a part of Investor Fuel. Like here's the value that you get by surrounding yourself with like-minded people that are operating, if not at your level or at a higher level, is intoxicating. Okay. And what happens is you don't know what you don't know. Like there's stuff that you know, and then there's the stuff that you think you know, but you're not sure. And then there's things that you don't even know. And that's what gets introduced in these masterminds is the possibilities of what's possible is mind-blowing. It expands your idea of what you could do, but more importantly is you can get the help. I think that's the difference for me. It was like, not only did I hear some great ideas and things that I didn't even know that you could do, like RVM, ringless voicemails, Podio when I first started, like using a CRM correctly. Not only did I say they get, like those like, oh, you got to use Podio, but it was like, here's exactly how you use this system.
Yep.
And like that piece of nugget was like, oh my God. And then you implement it into your business and you put it in, you're like, wow. And everybody's like, wow, you've got a real system now. But the truth is it's copy your way to success.
Right.
It really is about everybody rises when that high tide comes in, those groups of people come in. It's amazing what happens in the result of everybody gets risen to a new level.
Yeah. The difference is like, I was thinking about this recently in the context of something else, like a Lego kit. So we have kids. I don't know if your kids play with Legos or not, but my son, Jake, he was just really into Legos for a long time. Not anymore, but he was. And he was very good at, if he had the book, like he could put it together. He was like, you know, he'd be like 6 and they're like, this is like for age 8 to 12. And he's just like cranking stuff out without us, you know, which was awesome. But inevitably, if your kids were into Legos, what you have now is this just like buckets full of Legos from all these different kits that you could never put back together again. Right. And so the pieces are there, but you just don't have the kind of the blueprint of like, okay, do this. No, here's how we did it. We did this, we did this, we did this. It's almost like a blueprint of a recipe of like, here's how to do it.
Well, that's a great analogy, right? Because what that is exactly, a lot of us come into a group like a mastermind as a bucket full of Legos with no plan, right? And what happens is you get in there and all of a sudden someone brings in a new Lego kit, like brings in the Death Star or something, right? Which is a powerful, you know, thing of menace. But when he says, okay, not only did I bring in the Death Star, but I've actually got phase 1 Legos, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. And then here's the booklet on how to start assembling it. Now it's like, oh, okay, I can do that. I can take a chunk and get that piece done. Okay, now the next chunk is that piece and the next piece. And next thing you know, you've got the Death Star or, you know, or the Millennium Falcon, whatever you want to, like, if you want to go the light side or dark side, doesn't matter. Okay. But you can build that's a great analogy, man. That's the one of the best.
I made myself a note. I'm actually going to make an Investor Fuel commercial with that now. I've been thinking about doing it for years. And anyway, it's time. So, but the point is, you know, when you look, I think one of the challenges is we're all connected to thousands of people on social media, but the relationships tend to be very shallow, right? You hear, oh, I did this. Oh yeah, call me sometime. I'll tell you about it. That call may or may not ever happen, but it's just, it's not as deep as like, I want to help people because the people in this family, which is we call the Investor Fuel fam, help me, right? So when you get around people that truly, because I believe this, that you don't see it on social media, you don't feel it at RIA clubs, but real estate investors and entrepreneurs are some of the biggest givers out there. We know how hard it took to build something, and in exchange, maybe it's ego sometimes, maybe it's from the heart, whatever it is. We love to like help other people learn the lessons.
You said it best. It's family. Learned, right? The word is family, right? So I would say that is what I feel like when I go to an Investor Fuel meeting, and you know, we're meeting every quarter. When I get to that group, it's like I'm finally around the same group of people that I don't have to be ashamed of what I do. Because listen, when you start making money in this business, it's actually a pretty lonely business. Real estate is actually kind of lonely because you're kind of in your little island. A lot of times I work from home. I don't have lots of interactions with lots of people. And then I sure can't tell like my neighbors always what I'm doing, because it would sound like bragging when I'm talking about what I'm doing and like what I'm trying to build. And so I just kind of like shrunk down, and I can't tell anybody. When I go to Investor Fuel, it's like a celebration. And then it's the merging of minds, and it is family, because like these are my friends. Like if I'm ever in somebody's state, I'm gonna like, hey, yo, I'm coming to town and come stay with me. Let's go do this. And it becomes way more than just a simple, you know, call me and maybe I won't call you. That's not what it is. It's really like, how do you need to move the needle? Let me help. I'll invite you into my office. You can come in and take a look. I'll give you the process. Here it is. Never before in my life did I ever experience stuff like that. But when I got jumped into masterminds, true giving masterminds, not all masterminds are the same, but when you find one like the Fuel, because it is, and Mike, this comes back to leadership. It's only that way because you made it that way, right? You made it about people. Again, this is like the beginning concept we talked about. We're in the people business. Even when I don't show up to a mastermind, I get this gift basket thing that says, here's the roster, here's what you missed, here's your shirt. You know, like, who does that? Mike Hambright does that. Because why? Because he's in the people business. He cares. And listen, that leadership trickles all the way down to everybody. And that's the difference in masterminds. When you find the right one, it is a rising tide.
I appreciate that, brother. Thanks for the kind words.
Thanks, man.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, if folks want to connect with you, so Corey is a multifamily investor. He started a single family. If you don't know his whole story, found his way into multifamily. He's never looking back now. In fact, we're investors in some of his deals. We do some deals together. And if folks want to connect with you, you've got your podcast and a whole bunch of stuff. Where should they go to connect?
Two best places. Podcast is one, Multifamily Legacy Podcast. Find us on iTunes. That's a great place to get in. And I would actually recommend you listening to find and search for the pillars, the 6 pillars, right? That series is a great series to listen to understand that. And then also Kahuna Wealth Builders. KahunaWealthBuilders.com is our main website for teaching. We got some free stuff if you want to opt in. And then can I plug my book?
Yeah, buddy.
So
which one?
My second one, because this is it's the one that I wrote every word. Okay. The first one I had help writing. The second one I wrote it's called Copy Your Way to Success, Standing on the Shoulders of Giants. And it really is about my real estate journey. And it's really stories of me failing and learning. It's a very inspiring book. I think you'll laugh, cry, and maybe get inspired. And so if I can do that for you, I would love to do that. Get it on iTunes or wherever you can buy books.
Awesome. We'll add some links down below in the show notes here. So Corey, always good to see you, my friend.
Man, listen, Mike, you keep fighting the good fight. Anytime I can get in touch with Mike and hang out, it's always a great day for me.
Yeah, I appreciate that, buddy. Hey, everybody, thanks for joining us today. I hope you got some good insights from today. I think it all comes down to, like we said, it's about the little things in your business and in your life, right? We're all kind of out there trying to take over the world, but it's the relationships that matter most. So appreciate you guys. If you haven't checked out Investor Fuel yet, go to investorfuel.com. You can schedule a call with us. We'll love to tell you more about it if you're an active investor. And otherwise, we'll see you on the next episode. Take care. Are you an active real estate investor? If so, and you want to latch on to the power of surrounding yourself with over 100 of the nation's leading real estate investors, all committed to building stronger businesses and living richer, fuller lives, you should jump on a call with us to learn more about Investor Fuel. Simply visit investorfuel.com to get started.